Stan Irvin here in my studio in Rockport, Texas. Today I thought I'd show you a couple of tools that I find very useful. These are sheetrock carving tools, and one is a flat plane that most of you have probably used and familiar with. This is a half round. It's not actually a half round, but I think that's what they call it. And that's more for making kind of scallops. Here are some of the cups. You can see where this tool was used to make these grooves, and on this cup it's more of a straight-sided plane, and so that was done. And then at a later point I just cut out rather free-handedly these little notches so that this the texture in this is from the tool itself, which I kind of like. And I just brushed black slip into the surface and wiped it away. And of course it remained in some of the lower places. This is an iron saturate glaze that I kind of like. It's a new glaze that just came out of the kiln today for the first time. And I like the way it gives it this metallic look, which kind of works nicely with the more mechanical kinds of carving. Although this glaze is kind of luscious, and it works pretty well too. And I think primarily because of the sharp edges that cause the glaze to break. And so it either a fat glaze or a kind of a dry surface works. So these, I'll start out with a rather thick wheel-thrown cylinder. This would be way too thick and heavy without a considerable amount of carving. And I will sometimes put these back on the wheel after they get about leather hard and trim them just a little so that the thickness is somewhere around a half an inch or so, maybe a little bit more. Then I use this MKM tool and place this on there. Of course, I put it on the table and mark mark this off in eighths. This one is the one that will do even numbers, 4, 6, 8, or 10 or 12 sided. And there's another that will give you odd numbers. Okay, so I've got these marks right here at the bottom. Now, instead of going straight up and down as I did in this one, I'm going to go at a slight angle. So I have this bevel tool, and I can set it for the angle that I want to go around. Now, this little nut here gets in the way, and I don't want it to come in contact with the pot, so I'm setting it up on that roll of clay to kind of get this part of the tool clear of the pot. And then I just line up the marks and draw them on the surface. Now this angle will affect the angle too, so you want to try and get this at the same angle each time. Just hold it, rotate the pot, pick it up, and move the pot and go to the next mark. Now you don't have to do this. This might seem rather meticulous, but I find that it does generally work out a little better to do this. I've often done it just freehand style, but I like this a little better. Then I can remove that tape, and I have a pretty clear idea about where I want to put these scallops, and that they will turn out even. I won't have 8.5 or 7.5. And then I go right over that mark and try to get that tool in line with it. I want to set this up so that I have a lot of room down below. I don't want to be hitting the table with that tool. So I'll move this turntable over to the side, get it as far over as possible, and position myself so that I can, it's pretty much at eye level. I'm not looking at it at an odd angle. Hang it over the side of the turntable and just make a cut or two. I find this process very satisfying. There's nothing more satisfying, I don't suppose, in the clay world than carving. I even like the sound it makes. Now I don't go as far in on the first pass because I do want to make sure that this is going to work out, that I have an even number of, or not necessarily even number, but at least the same space between, or close enough to the same space between each one. And then on the second pass, I'll go a little bit deeper. You can always check the thickness there in between where you're doing the carving to make sure that you're not getting too thin. But after doing this a number of times, I get a pretty good sense of when it's getting thin and how much room I actually have, how much carving I can actually do. All the while comparing this shape that is being left in the center with the next one to make sure that they do remain even. You can see that this one is a little wider than that one. So on this next pass, I may go over a little bit to the left in order to make it a little more like the previous one or the next one. Another kind of thing that helps me to regulate the depth is this distance between the top of that groove and that little line underneath the lip. I don't want it to get too close to the lip and actually cut into it. So when I start getting too close, I try to do more of the carving on the bottom end and less at the top. Okay, so I'll move on to one that I've done a little bit, gotten a little bit further along on. Now this one looks different because I started out before trimming it, and first thing when I started the process, I made a groove horizontally around the pot. Then I came back and did what I did here. So that segmented it into different, more complicated kind of shapes. And after this is dried a little more, I can get a little more defined definition. You see the little grooves that were left by the carving tool. I really like that. Okay, so once that's defined and I'm satisfied with it, I sometimes will go back with a little, I don't see it here, but with a little handle on a paintbrush and push in little elements on the outside. And what I really like about that is it creates little focal points around there, but it also pushes up into the inside and makes those little dots. Okay, then the next thing is to put a handle on. I need a tool. So I'm gonna put this handle right here. Now down here, since that is at an angle, I don't want the handle to be at an angle, so I'm going to cut out a little place there so that the bottom of the handle is directly over the top. And then I'm going to use a little water piece of clay here. And I usually sort of make a little cylinder, sometimes a little bit of a carrot shape, and round it at one end, and then create a little cup. Score that, then put a little water here. Make that attachment. I don't want to make the end of this so big that it becomes too massive, a handle for the cup that I have. So, first few strokes, I'm just trying to get rid of the lumps. I wasn't super careful about rolling that coil out, so that makes it for a little bit more work and getting it started. Now, you see that I'm avoiding blending this in at the top. That would interfere with my surface decoration, so I'm not going to want to do that. Now, this handle is going to look a little weird, a little awkward at first. Just pinch that off. Blend that in. Then I'm going to come back and raise this up. I kind of like a good 2-finger handle, if not 3 fingers. But the size of this cup doesn't really warrant a 3-finger handle. Okay. Now that handle is sagging just a little, so as it stiffens up, I'll come back and get it to stand up a little better. Thank you.